He looks up, he makes eye contact for the first time. And he said, now really, why do I want to do this? And I just stopped and I took a breath and I said, because you can have the pugs in the shot with you. And he said, okay, I'll do it.
You are now listening to the podcast where authors inspire listeners to become authors, the Going North Podcast. I'm your host, certified self-leadership trainer, best-selling author, and book enthusiast, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be listening to a different author that will inspire you to join the business of immortality, known as authorship. Now let the fun begin. Today's episode is sponsored by the GoingNorthPodcast.com shop. It is going to help you have northbound direction to your own success. If you want a great inspirational quote like advance others to advance yourself, or today a reader, tomorrow a leader, heck, even some puns like pile on and always fully booked on your tote bag, mug, hoodie, heck, even a t-shirt, and many, many other items, head over to GoingNorthPodcast.com, click on the shop tab, and cop yourself some merchandise indeed. And that's GoingNorthPodcast.com/shop. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors known as the Going North Podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of the wonderful site known as podmatch.com, the wonderful site where podcast guests get to connect with podcast hosts. And if they're cool, they're freaking in. And today's guest is cooler than two freaking cucumbers indeed, because let me tell you a bit about her, because we got another best-selling author in the building, baby. That's right indeed, who is a mom, a consultant, a coach, executive, as well as a former triathlete. So she's got a gun show for days, y'all, as well as a high profile producer. So let's give it up for the sensational and glamorous Susan Gold. How you doing today, Susan?
Oh my gosh, Dom, I'm going to make a little recording and carry that around my shoulder. That's a great way to launch the conversation. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure indeed. I mean, hey, last name is Gold, so it's like, hey, this is what we're looking for, right? Everybody's looking for gold. They got to go for the gold.
Here I
Olympians
am.
are after you. But hey, as with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 75 days, 99 years long, and I probably only covered, I don't know, maybe 99 minutes. So my goodness, my goodness. So since your first time on the show, mind filling in any cavities on what made you become the Susan that you are today?
I think that my little soul spirit inside wouldn't have it any other way. She drugged me kicking and screaming, and here I am. I had to listen. I had to stand up and walk the walk.
So did the walk involve Nikes?
at some points, Tom. Yeah, at some points.
Right, indeed. And if I'm not mistaken, you're actually partly responsible for the creation of Fox News, right?
Wow. Roger Ailes had a network. He was running CNBC and he had a network called America's Talking, and he wanted celebrities to endorse the network. And I had a name for getting celebrities to match up with brands. So he called me across the bridge, and I couldn't get any celebrities to stand up. So one night I had an idea. I had a flash. I grabbed a cameraman. We went to a red carpet event. And I interviewed everybody that was there about the event. And then I had them look straight to camera, say who they were, and that they were watching America's Talking. So it was a promo. And that was like new back then. Nobody was doing that. And we had all these celebrities on Roger's little network leveraging his brand. And he was so happy. So it was time for him to launch Fox News Channel. And he invited me to join the party.
There you go. That's right indeed with all the streamers. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Not YouTube streamers.
Oh my gosh, Tom, I love your energy. I love your pace. I love your tempo. I love your vibe. Yeah, it's awesome.
Sweet. I'm glad the feeling is freaking mutual indeed. Mutual indeed. So my goodness. So being able to have that confidence at that level to be able to be like, you know what, screw it, I'm tired of these celebrities not returning my calls. It's time to go to them. It's like, oh, put a microphone in front of them, have them talk. It's red carpet. They'll be less apprehensive. It's like, oh yeah, it's a random person. I have no idea what this is. Smartphones aren't out yet. So did you always have that confidence? Because if I'm not mistaken, you had a rough childhood before then.
I was trained as a classical dancer, so that gave me discipline and poise. I think that helped, but I also had great empathy and compassion. And honestly, I was telepathic young. It kept me safe. I could intuit and read energies of people. And I knew that this earthly walk we're on is not for the faint of heart and not always the easiest, softer way. I think I'm going to read the fine print when I come in next time. But yeah, I did have that quality. I mean, my first deal that I ever closed on my own in my own company, I was 25 years old. I had just been fired because I confronted my boss on sexual harassment. And I decided I couldn't go work for anyone else. I used to watch Barbara Walters on my beanbag chair in my basement on my belly. And I wanted to go to New York City and be just like her. And I went to New York City. I was working at a global talent agency. I wasn't making enough money. So I started doing exercise training, personal training on the side. And Barbara was one of my clients. So I rang her doorbell at 7 a.m. one morning and she's like, Susan, get in here. What is going on with you? She was a great interviewer with purpose. She had amazing intuition and completely compassionate heart. And she got it out of me that I had been sexually harassed in the workplace the day before. And she goes, I'm coming with you this morning. We're going to confront this man together. And I'm like, it's okay, Barbara. So she offered me an assistantship for her then fiance. He was running a movie company, but I couldn't be an assistant, Dom, not after what I had experienced. So with 2.5 months of cash in the bank, I was newly sober. I had just extricated myself from an abusive relationship where the man was holding the purse strings and I was terrified I'd go back into
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Donnie Deutsch, who's an entrepreneur, he's also an iconic TV host. I'm sure you know him. He was running his dad's ad agency then. Somehow we were referred and had a conversation. And he said, I really want Andy Warhol to endorse the Pontiac dealers account I've got. Can you do it? Can you get him to do it? I'm like, I don't know. I can try. Well, Dom, nobody was picking up the phone at the factory. I don't know what they were doing down there, but so I took the train from the Upper West Side to Murray Hill, where his brownstone was. I knocked on the door and Fred answered, Andy's business manager, and he said, what are you doing here? I told him I was so green under the gills, but I was so determined. I just had nothing to lose. And it was a question, right? You're just asking a question. And the answer is always yes until it's no. It's another great piece of advice I learned in business. And he said, come back tomorrow. I'll let you talk to Andy. So I knew there was hope because there's no way he would let me talk to Andy Warhol if there wasn't some kind of possibility. And I showed up the next day, same time. Fred had me sit in the foyer. I was waiting and waiting and waiting and sweating and practicing what I was going to say. And these double doors open and it was dark inside the room. And Fred said, Andy, we'll see you now. And I was like, okay. So I stepped inside the room and there was this pin spotlight coming down on this platinum hair that was going like 17 directions. And there were three little pugs, those little dogs with the smushed faces running
Mm.
around the studio. And so I'm explaining to Andy why I'm there and, what this is about. He's not listening. He's not looking at me. He's scribbling. He's, got the colored pencils and the dogs are his focus. And I realized this right away. They're tugging at his pants leg. He's scooping him up like they're candy. I'm like, he doesn't care about this. He doesn't care about this. He cares about his dogs. So finally, he looks up, he makes eye contact for the first time. And he said, now really, why do I want to do this? And I just stopped and I took a breath and I said, because you can have the pugs in the shot with you. And he said, okay, I'll do it. That was really the deal that launched my career.
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And that's freaking huge too, and the good old power of observation. So it's like, oh, maybe she can read mine. Just like, oh, wonder if she can read the podcast host mine because it's like, oh man, it's like, oh, you can have your pugs in the shot, indeed. And my goodness, and this probably, I don't know, you probably felt really apprehensive going in the dark room after dealing with sexual harassment already, too. On top of that, it's like, oh God, like, is this another one of those situations? Like, this, if there's a damn couch, I'm shooting up the place.
Dom, you're so insightful. Yeah. I mean, as a young woman, and I know it still goes on, I was terrified. I needed help. I had trouble with alcohol and knew it. I took a slug from a wine jug at work to ask for a raise, and I was like, something's wrong with this equation. Also, my relationships were highly toxic and abusive. Lots of arguing, lots of drama, lots of lying when it would have been just as easy to tell the truth. I was replicating my family dynamic, my family system. And so someone referred me to a therapist, and I was smart enough at the time to go. Yeah, and I walked into that office and there was the couch and he closed the door and I thought, oh no, here it comes. Here it comes. I mean, you were just trained that way, right? Yeah. Roger Ailes, when he congratulated me, I was working for the head of promos at CNBC, and short, great guy, lots of energy, gave me so much opportunity. He let me run with that cameraman that night to get those promos that happened. He's like, Gold, get in here. I'm like, okay, what did I do now? It's like, Mr. Ailes wants to see you up in his office right away. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Go running upstairs. The secretary opens the door. There's the couch. There's the door. Oh, God, not again. So fast forward, Roger's accused of sexual harassment, right? He's about to get axed from Fox. And my college boyfriend, who had been working at CNN and moved over to Fox News Channel, calls me up and he goes, did you read the New York article on Roger? I'm like, no. You better read it. Oh my gosh, Dom. The same interview Roger gave his victims. That was the interview he gave me that day. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't pass that test.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he never harassed me. Never. He was an incredible leader. And I'm just glad maybe I didn't fit the bill. I had boundaries, I had experience. I was a little less like Bambi in headlights at that point, but he gave me incredible opportunities.
Ah, there we go. There we go. She already had some opportunities to grow the grit muscle. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Good thing that didn't happen to you, at least at that point, with that particular instance, indeed. So that way it wouldn't be a darn, I guess, scroll of, oh God, let's forget that moment kind of thing. So, my goodness, my goodness. So, taking all of those past experiences and heck, even now, you finally joined the business of immortality with your book, Toxic Family. So, my goodness, what led you to finally write this book and put your story out there like that?
I didn't think I had a story. I thought, oh, my life's not that interesting. Why would anybody want to read about it? And I was encouraged in 2007 by an Irish seer who said, you've got a book to write. And I was like, oh, I don't want to go through all of that for a PR tool. And then two more intuitives back to back said the same thing. And the third intuitive said, you've got 3 books to write. And I was like, oh, I better nip this in the bud before I've got a whole library to write. So I sat for 15 minutes a day, whether I had something to write or not, right? Being the bulldog producer. I wouldn't go through that again. I wouldn't do it that way, but it did give me a first pass at a manuscript. And I was proud and privileged to have it down in black and white, but I didn't feel connected to it. So a really wise mentor said, go back through it, take another pass from little Susie's point of view, that little soul, that light in your heart that's walked through all of this, all that you've survived. And it's not so much the black and white words on the page changed. What's changed was how I connected to that individual and the storyline. And compassion opened, another layer of shellac melted that was plastered across my heart. And I really found like a great amount of respect. I think it was like, yeah, I think the publisher sent me the galley for the final read, right? Before it goes to print. And I finished chapter 12, which is, it's a chapter about what I experienced divorcing my biggest guru. And I was like, wow, that woman is powerful. And it took me like a split second to figure out, yeah, that's you. Hello, that's you.
There you go. That's you. That's you. Who's that gorgeous woman in the mirror? It's you. It's right indeed with the gun show. That's you. It's right indeed. She's got that strength indeed. That's right indeed. Because some folks usually stay. That's probably a big thing for a lot of folks stay in relationships longer than they need to.
Oh my goodness, mine was way past the expiration date, Dom. I was duct tape and sticky glue, and yeah, so I really didn't want my marriage to end because, I saw the brutality of my parents and they're splitting apart. It was really excruciating, and I was determined, oh, I'm not going to have that for my family. And I had a son. He was 9. But ultimately, the man that I fell in love with was a mirage. I used to feel like, wow, you're straight out of a Hollywood movie. And he was, he had a horrendously toxic upbringing himself and didn't have the opportunity to really take a look at it, and had constructed a very false persona, is what I painfully learned. And I was becoming more and more drained. I was carrying most of the weight in the relationship. And also, that was my choice because I didn't have trust. I didn't have the feeling of safety within my own heart. How could I have that with another? And I would pick from the lowest hanging fruit. I had to have male attention since second grade and Billy Fritz on the playground. And that was very costly. And this experience taught me my authentic power. I mean, I was told, oh, you're so independent, you're so strong, you're so accomplished. I was, but I didn't feel that at all inside. I was shaking and crumbling. Where was my support system, which was all external rather than coming from the inside, right? Yeah. It was a really painful experience. I really genuinely loved this man and tried to make him accountable through a post-nuptial agreement. We got to the last bone of contention. I thought, oh my God, our marriage is saved. And he crossed his arms and his eyes went in those cold lizard-like slits. And he said, I'm hiring an attorney and I'm filing for divorce. And then, the real hell ensued. He wouldn't leave the master bedroom of our home. I, by choice, had a mattress on the floor in a partial conversion in our garage in a home I bought and paid for and maintained for our family. And it was 1 year of holding no contact within that domicile, because that's what works when you're divorcing one I believe was a narcissist. No eye contact, Dom. And I learned that on long-term meditation retreats that I had done. And I trained as an endurance athlete, and that focus of that training came into play. And I turned that little conversion in the garage into a little monastery, and I went within and I did somatic work. I went into the cellular part of my being, into the trauma, into the pockets where it was held in my body. And I worked really hard and I stayed really strong, and it was excruciatingly painful. And at the end of a calendar year, I was able to write him a six-figure check, and he could move on to his next source of supply. And I could really begin my life with the gift of knowing my power, knowing my beauty, and really having love for myself and love for him. How painful to have to walk through life like that.
Yep. It's basically walking through life barefoot in a field of Legos, right?
Legos.
That's right, indeed. You go for the shoes, they get smacked out of your hand every time. It's like, no, why does this place even exist? And how the hell I even get it? You must trek this
Yeah.
desert of Legos. Why couldn't it be sand like every other desert? Who made the sand?
Yeah. I think this is probably too Southern California hooey. Maybe Montana will train it out of me, but I feel it was all with purpose, Dom. I feel, I was smack dab in the middle of five kids with two addicts raising us for purpose, for point, for beauty. I've teased out the strands. I've done a lot of work, a lot of work. It's not easy. I'm going to give myself credit for that. And I have come full circle. I mean, my parents were horribly abused as children, and their parents had abuse. It was hurt and damaged children, raising hurt and abused and damaged children. And I appreciate and respect their walk. Toxic Family was not my title. That's my publisher's title, and it's a genius title. I give her incredible credit, but I have great love for my family. My title is Magical Illumination, Transforming Childhood Trauma into Adult Freedom, because that's what I feel it's been. My siblings all have very different perspective on the household we grew up in, and I have love for them all. It's soul evolution if we choose it.
Ah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. Definitely for choose indeed, especially all the choose your own adventures. You love to see it. I love to see it. Well, then again, love to see most of it. Probably not all of it. Some adventures like, oh man, that was a bad idea. So my goodness, of being able to transmute past pain into current power, and it looks like you did some of that through meditation. So what would you consider your biggest gem of wisdom that was illuminated to you through meditation?
I think the biggest illumination that's come from all my meditation is to realize that I'm running on overdrive. My central nervous system has been amped up beyond 110 miles per hour. And it's okay to stop and take a breath and step off that hamster wheel I generally run on, and just focus on the in and out of the breath. That's simple. And just know I'm a human being. I'm doing the very best that I possibly can, one step in front of the other.
Ah, I hear you indeed. Hear you indeed. So, my goodness, I know self care is probably a requirement, and I'm pretty sure exercise is part of what you do to stay sane, among other things. So, anything else that Susan does for self care to stay fabulous?
Yeah, well, I took that exercise way beyond too, right? As a good little addict, I was an endurance athlete. I was training like an NCAA athlete. I had done marathons. I had done triathlons. I had done master swimming to get a national ranking within 4 years, throwing kettlebells in the hot yoga room for 2 hours, and, just running my body ragged to find that self-esteem, that value, that worth, and to numb my pain. And ultimately, that persona had to drop too. I could barely walk around my block, Dom. I was in excruciating chronic pain for 2 years, but I knew intuitively the Western medical route wasn't my route. And through all sorts of different alternative methods, I ultimately found some PT guys up in Northern California, and we addressed not just the pathology, but we went right to the muscle. And I'm happy to say now I gently walk around my neighborhood. I hike. I swim just to take a dip, not to do 4,000 meters following that black line with a bunch of world class and Olympians in the lane next to me. It's an easier, softer way. Probably instead of hot yoga, I'm doing more yin these days and just being more gentle, checking in with my body, seeing what do I want? Do I want to throw some kettlebells this morning because it's fun and hang from a bar? Or do I want to just sit on my cushion and lean forward for some gentle stretching? It's really freeing to have that choice. I got caught on that wheel, harder, faster, longer, right? Start out with the 5K, then it's the 10K, then you got to do the marathon, then you got to do another marathon and go do a film junket for AMC. I mean, just, crazy, crazy stuff. Yeah, it's nice to be coming onto Earth and realizing my humanness is a plus.
Heck yeah, it is. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's why I sometimes joke around with folks at my day job. It's like, hey, they keep us humans here around for a reason. That's right indeed. Because y'all still need help. A robot ain't giving you all the help.
Well, let's hope we're moving up and out of that frequency, right? To authentic freedom. Yeah. We're powerful beyond our knowing. I think we're headed there. I think it's a brighter future coming.
Was that a pun right there?
Always, we love those puns, Dom.
Yes, indeed. Well, speaking of our brighter future, what are you excited about for your future series and what you got planned?
I'm toying. I've been doing a little coaching and I really like helping other people. And it's been nice that people I don't even know have reached out to say how the book has helped them. There's a workbook in the appendix. It was sort of like, really a throwaway. My publisher's like, there's great stuff here. Like, let's focus on this a little bit more. And people are actually finding a lot of soothing and help. They're not the same at the beginning that they were at the end. So yeah, I'm toying a little with that. I'm talking to a lot of people with podcasts to connect and really find out how can I best be of service. But I've been really lucky, like to have the glittering career, right, and interact with people that are household names and all that stuff. But this is my purpose. This is why I was put on the planet. This is why I faced the abuse that I did and stepped through it and walked through it. Yeah, this is why, to share that there is a way through, that it's all golden and you can come out with huge love in your heart. So I think this is my purpose.
Ah, beautiful. All right. That's right indeed. It's a great thing when you know your purpose indeed. That's right indeed. So she's a coach, y'all. That's right indeed. You'll get those metaphorical six-pack abs, y'all. Hell, she might even, if you're local, who knows? She might come back in the gym, help you to get those eight-pack abs. You never know. You never know indeed. If that's what she desires, that is indeed. So my goodness. So since you've been on a few interviews talking about the magical book and the work you're doing, help out your fellow humans and to help us to be the best light bulb ever as a whole. Is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often when you're on the guest side of the microphone?
Well, there's the question I want to ask you, Dylan. I'm going to turn it around. You've done like so many episodes. What's one thing you've learned from your guests or one of your guests or learned in general as a podcast host because you have a really unique take.
I'd have to say, just getting guests to think. It's like because it's borderline gotcha for some people when they feel like when some folks be like, "Oh God, I didn't plan for that." I'm like, it's okay. There's a reason why I want to do pre-calls for these conversations because hey, I want it to be natural in the moment because it's like, hey, you just show up and be you, dang it. Like if you're here in this process, you already made the cut. You're good people. And I just want to get new stuff out of people. It's definitely new because one guest in particular, Kelly Swanson, her interview should be up later today at the time of this recording. Like she's a storytelling coach. And the thing was, since she's a fellow Christian, I had her share testimony on the show because that's what I do since I'm a Christian myself. And a lot of churches, depending on where you are, they really don't talk about evangelizing like that. And to be honest, it's probably better to be a magnet as opposed to a pusher. And that was our first time like really sharing her faith like that on a podcast. And she gave this great analogy of a lottery ticket. It's like, hey, if you knew you had a lottery ticket where you're going to be winning down the road no matter what, like, would you be happy about that? And it's like, if for her, that's basically what it was. And it wasn't polished or nothing. It was just a raw, real, heartfelt story. And that was the like the last, I guess, 15 minutes of the interview. It's like the first 42 were good, but like after that 44-minute mark where it was like, oh yeah, let me just go ahead and ask this. And it's like she went off another 15 to 20 minutes and it felt really good. And I'm like, yes, like this is really what it's all about, getting the new things, getting folks to really be them at a higher level. And heck, even folks to really tap into something that they've been hiding for so long because she even said herself like towards the end, like God been telling me to really encourage other Christians to tell their stories like this. And I was like, you know what? there's a there's a reason for everything. So just getting those new stories out of folks and just helping them to realize a new level of confidence indeed. So yeah, that's really what it's all about, at least from recent history.
I love that you shared that. Yeah. Yeah, you're a quiet Jedi, that's for sure. You're genius. You're so contemplative, and then you just come out with this wizard statements. Amazing. Yeah, I love it. I loved listening. I don't do a podcast unless I listen to a full episode, sometimes a couple more than that. And I really love the way that you're nonlinear in your conversation and you're very insightful, very targeted. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Oh, well, thank you. So indeed, so indeed, because hey, we're not linear beings. I mean, yeah, sure, from foot to head, sure, linear, but like outside of that, the minds, the lives, the stories, like oh, totally non-linear, squiggly lines everywhere.
So true. And I think you bring that forward in such an authentic way. It's beautiful. What you're doing is important. It has value, it has worth. And I know it takes energy, takes effort, takes research, takes finances. So thank you for all you're producing.
Oh, my pleasure indeed, and thanks for showing up today too. Another reason why folks get 6 reminders before they pop on the show. Ghosts
That's
are never
okay,
fun.
Don. It's okay. It's all good.
Oh, well, I guess the position switching's back to you. So my goodness, so if your book Toxic Family, if it were a food, what would it be and why?
Oh, it'd be an artichoke for sure. Yeah. You got to like peel off all the layers, right? To get to the heart. But it's so beautiful once you go through all those layers. Yeah. I'd say an artichoke. Have you ever
Yeah.
gotten that answer before? An artichoke? It's kind of random.
Nope, you're the first. We got broccoli, we got blueberries, then I think we got cauliflower, but yeah, artichokes, no. Nope, first ever one.
There's always one in the group.
That's right, indeed. No hesitation at all. It's like, yeah, she knew that question was coming.
I practiced yesterday. My dog and I were out for a walk. On the path that's in the photo in the back. Yeah, that's my neighborhood. That's actually my street, but I can't shoot into my windows. There's too much backlight. So I just take a bunch of photos and yeah, it's where I live. So we were
Ah.
practicing the answer to that question.
Yeah, who thought you could practice for a podcast interview? But hey, it's possible. Who would have thought? That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Even with the random zaniness that pops out every now and then, like a random Jack in the Box, or a Jill in the Box, or a Jack and Jill out in the box.
Or an artichoke.
That's right, a good old Artie. Artie chokey. Less chokey, more Artie. So my goodness, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is if it'll wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in the current year. What advice would you give to yourself?
Slow down. It's okay.
Yeah, there you go. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Don't have to be Speedy and Gonzalez every day. That's right indeed. The 24/7 hustle is overrated. That's right indeed. Gotta rest before you get on day 10 of no sleep and you start seeing spirits. That's when things get weird. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. And then you wake up the following day with a lampshade over your head. Don't want to do that. That's right.
You sound like you're speaking from personal experience, Tom.
Oh no, that's just my hyperbole again. Funny enough, a personal trainer. Apparently, he's got some Native American blood in him. It was hilarious. He was like, "Yeah, yeah, I tried doing the whole no sleep thing for 14 days, and then on day 12, I started seeing spirits, and I'm like, okay, all right, I quit. Let me go to bed. This ain't working for me, but he didn't wake up with a lampshade over his head. At least he didn't say that part. Yeah, so he was like, I don't think I was the person trained. That might have been dumb. I'm sure he's probably trying to joust me. He knows there's a lampshade somewhere. Yes, indeed. Well, I get more into the rabbit hole, folks need to keep up with your journey indeed. So for those who need to do just that and more, what's the best way for folks to do so?
Only if they feel called. Go to susangold.us. That's the easiest place. Everything's there, Dom.
There you go. Because it's all about us, y'all, us as a whole. That's right, indeed. In the Susan Gold Club, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right. This ain't about the bronze, even though she's got some bronze tan swag. It's about the gold, baby. That's right, indeed. It ain't about the silver. That's right, indeed. It's about the gold, indeed. So if you want the gold and go for the gold, head over to susangold.us.us. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Because I'm going to link to that all in the show notes, indeed, 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 and in. So, any parting words before I close up shop, Susan?
Just thank you. This has been really fun. And you're a treasure. And I really appreciate you.
If you're hearing this part of the episode, that means you're one cool individual. Thanks a bunch for tuning in, and if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to share it with at least one other person in your network. Bonus points for 3. And be sure to check out the backlog too while you're at it, because there are hundreds of wonderful episodes to choose from as well.